Okay, ladies and gentlemen, and with that, we are going to start our panel program. I would like to ask to come to the stage Heather Riley, one of our two moderators, Heather Riley, partner at Allen Matkins, and Andrew James, Vice President, Lockton Insurance Company. Will the moderators please join me on stage? Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is the part where you're going to concentrate on the program. You're going to cut short your conversation. You're going to wipe off your mouth, drain your glasses, because we would like to start the program. Okay? I'm handing it over to you.
I'll take it.
Good evening.
No.
Wow, Bora, you really set the bar high for this one here. This is going to be a fantastic panel. So before we get started, I just want to say a thank you to Bora and the entire BIA team for putting on this event tonight. This is pretty amazing. This is a special. And
Good.
go for it.
Hi, everyone. So Andrew and I want to thank you all for coming. I think that you're actually going to learn something tonight. Well, I'm hoping you're actually going to learn something tonight. I know that just from chatting with these guys before we got started, Andrew and I learned a couple things. So our goal tonight is to actually have them entertain us. You know, we're just the moderators. We're supposed to get the conversation going, and we may have to be the referees that step in, but we're hoping we're actually going to get a dialogue tonight, a fun dialogue. So we'd like to invite our speakers up to the stage. So starting tonight, we have Adrian Foley, COO, one of the popular people in the room, COO of Brookfield Residential, President of Residential Southern California. So Adrian, we asked for a couple personal facts to help introduce themselves. And Adrian told me that he literally bumped into his wife in a club in London, which is what led him to move to America and how we all ended up with him. And then the second great fact is he was hired at Brookfield by Bill Davidson, who then left 4 months later. So he brought him in and he abandoned him. So that's Adrian. Next.
Next up, Bert Selva. I'll introduce him as he walks up. All right. Bert is the president and CEO of Shea Homes, one of the largest home builders in America, operating in 9 states across the country. And for some fun facts about Bert, he is a die-hard USC Trojans fan. And if you want to see him on a Saturday, you're probably going to have to go to the LA Coliseum because he attends every home game and a good number of the aways as well.
Ironically, though, I'll add, he did also go to UCLA, but chooses to root for USC. Okay, third, Jeff Ruse, Regional President of the West Region for Lennar Homes of California. I heard that he's an avid golfer. I heard the better fact is that he owns a wine shop in Irvine. So for any of you, he told me that this home building is his hobby and the wine shop is really his career. We just take up the side time. The other thing about him is that he helped found Lennar's Charitable Housing Foundation, which helps address our country's homeless population. So that's actually pretty good work. Thank you.
And next up, Mr. Bob McLeod of Newland Communities. Bob is the founder and the visionary behind Newland Communities. They're one of the largest privately held real estate developers in the country, and under Bob's leadership, Newland and its affiliates have developed, acquired, and completed on its own account or managed for third parties a combined total of more than 140 projects. And a quick fun fact about Bob is he started in the car business, somehow ended up in the land business, but still enjoys his cars.
And last, we'd like to invite Scott Stoll up. He's the executive chairman of the board for Cal Atlantic. And it was suggested to me that I make sure everyone in the room knows what Cal Atlantic is, because it's relatively new. Cal Atlantic is the company that was formed under Scott's leadership from his former company, Standard Pacific, and the Ryland Group. Scott, when we asked him for a couple of facts, told us he is very happily married for 36 years. He has 6 grandkids at the moment. I'm not sure we're ending there. And he speaks fluent Dutch. So he and Bora have a lot to talk about that none of us can understand. So we'll get started now. Thank you.
Game on.
All right, good luck. Don't vote for the guy in the middle. Whatever you do, he'll screw you. Oh, and he sat down as well. And he's small as well.
It's an easy game.
I'm going to go first. We're going to start with a little icebreaker, a little short question. This is open to anyone, so I think we should all make them raise their hands. Maybe we'll make you raise. No, we'll just call on you. So if you weren't CEO of a large home building development company, what else would you do? What would be your job?
Any first takers?
All right, Jeff, you're first.
We'll start with you.
Oh, no, I called on Jeff.
Oh, Jeff.
I'm
Oh,
going.
sorry.
I thought she called on Scott.
I thought we told you. Yeah.
What would I be doing if
What would you do?
Well, as I explained, this is my second job. No, I think I'd certainly, I have no idea.
See, I have my answer.
That wasn't in the script.
My answer
First
is
of
an
all.
easy one. If I
That,
wasn't
that
doing-
question was supposed to be asked of Bob.
Exactly.
We know he had the home. He was in the car business. See, my answer is I would go work at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. I have a history degree. I'd go work at the museum. I'd be a curator. I'd make no money, and I'd live in a basement somewhere. So come on, what would you do,
If I
Scott?
wasn't a CEO of a home builder, and I'm not, number one, start with that one. But I think what I'd really like to be is an executive chairman of a home builder.
You want a new title?
It's the coolest title that anybody up here has, and the rest of us can't figure out what he does.
More on that later.
All right, so Bob, what would you do?
Well, my wife thinks I'd be a ski bum, but it's not true. Be a professor of European history.
Oh, okay. See, there you go.
Go.
What do the rest of you have? Come on, somebody's got an answer. What would you do, Bert?
I haven't really thought about it, but maybe I love cars too, so maybe I'd love to be a CEO of an auto company, maybe a European auto company.
Oh, European. Very specific. You don't want any of the American brands.
No.
All right, Adrian, what would you do?
That's right.
I hate the car theme, but I probably drive fast cars for a living. That's what I'd love to do.
Do you think they would let you?
No. They let me drive once.
All right, Scott, you're last. What would you do?
And what was the question? What would I do if I weren't in home building?
What would your job be? What's your
I would be a teacher and a coach.
Of what sport?
Huh?
What sport? What are you going to coach?
I think basketball is the best sport to coach.
Is that because of the height?
Yeah, a little bit of that.
Yeah.
It's a great game to coach and be kind of close to the action.
All right, thank you.
All right, let's move on, and I'll start with you. Go back to you, Scott.
Yeah.
In the last year, what was your biggest unexpected hit or miss, and why?
I'm going to try to keep these comments related to this marketplace because we've got 17 states and 41 markets. But I
be
would say
fantastic.
our biggest miss and our biggest win. Is that the question?
Sure.
And why?
And
I think our biggest win would be our Del Sur community, which, credit goes to this amazing team here from Cal Atlantic and Standard Pacific. That community, we opened 13 communities this year alone. We'll close 300 homes, and the gross margins coming out of this division, the entire division, are incredible at 36% gross margin. So that's it's a very valuable and very important business to us. We love this marketplace. And I guess our biggest miss would be we purchased a project that we affectionately called the Chicken Farm, which is now called Harmony Grove, which we tied up in late 2009, and then we closed it probably in 2011, and our biggest miss was probably our estimate of the development costs.
And moving down the line, how about you, Bob? What would be your biggest unexpected miss and your biggest unexpected hit?
Well, I guess from a hit point of view, maybe a couple. We've had a lot of success in our cafes/information centers that we've been developing all over the country in our master plans. And maybe a little bit more about that later. And I think that was one of them. And also, we are building apartments in suburbia. And we have one in Tampa that's very successful. And people said, you can't build that far out. Who would rent an apartment, that far out of town? And it turns out if you're in the best school district in that particular area of the county, people who want to be in that school district are going to rent apartments if they can't afford the house. As to the miss, I guess we had a project in DC, and I think this is on us. We do a great job of customer research. In fact, a really great job of customer research. But I think we fell down on that in DC, is that we had a series of plans that we thought could be sold to the builders on the customers that we thought were going to be there. The DC market has changed. Obviously, sequestration has dropped the number of employees down. Who's buying there is entirely different. And we just didn't do a good enough job on convincing our builder customers and partners of a change in that market and the products that were changing with it. And so I wish we could have changed that.
Absolutely, thank you for that. And I want to go down to the end of the line. Adrian, did you have a project that you thought was just going to be fantastic and it turned out to be a dud, or vice versa, one that you thought was going to be a dud and it just ended up fantastic?
That's not on the script either. We've had a couple of surprises this year. We opened a new community in Ontario in what I would consider to be the center of the growth corridor, and a little surprisingly, we didn't get as much reception from our builder friends buying land from us, and we haven't had as much. We've actually had good success relatively, but not as much as we would have expected. It sort of surprised me, and I think the Inland Empire growth corridor has been broadly that way in the last 12 months, or last couple of years actually. And then a dud that turned out to be a winner. I don't think we buy duds, so I'd like to think that...
we just make them after we buy
We just
them.
make them after we bought them, exactly, yeah. But thanks for that, by the way.
Did one sell better or higher than expected?
I'm sorry?
Did one sell better or higher than expected?
Yeah, we've had a community in Carlsbad here that's had just a fantastic success. Our sales team sitting at the table over here, and frankly, one of our builder friends tried to buy the land from us 3 years ago, and we didn't sell it to him. So I'm glad we didn't, because we made a nice profit. So we're happy with the sales rate at Carlsbad.
Okay, that was a good idea then. Good to hold on to it. Okay,
It's really hard to hear you guys, by the way. Just
There's
in
too
case
much
you-
echo
yeah.
in here. If we could fix that,
Yeah.
that would really be helpful.
Yeah.
We'll work on it. All right, so the next question is, I'm going to ask Jeff this one. What are you keeping your eye on in this market? What is the one thing that you're watching in the next couple of years
In this
in this
respective
market? Mhm.
I think certainly the challenge of finding land. We've got a number of communities, we've got a number of them coming up, but San Diego market historically has been a challenging market to find land. I think certainly Cal Atlantic's done a terrific job. It's got some great holdings, but for the most part, as we all know, it's a relatively land-challenged market as compared to some of the other ones around. So as we continue to build our position,
Could we turn Jeff's
that's,
microphone up
I
a
think,
little
our
bit?
biggest challenge.
Or speak a little bit louder?
Pardon?
Speak a little bit louder.
Want me to repeat that whole thing? No, it's certainly not. No, again, just the challenges of finding and continuing the land supply here.
So you just said, obviously, Cal Atlantic's found some good land. They're doing well out here. So is that something that you look at Cal Atlantic and you think they've got good people acquiring land? Is that something you see on their side they're doing well?
I think they've done a great job positioning themselves in this market on a long-term basis. So, really kudos to Dan Pagan particularly.
So, Bert, what are you keeping your eye on? Where's your challenge in the market?
Well, I think across the board, it's trade capacity. All of us up here next year, our business plans are to grow, and we already have issues with the capacity of trades. So I think that's one big one that I'm keeping my eye on. I think the other one is costs. Costs are rising. I'm not sure if we're going to continue to get the uplift we've had in price. over the time. And probably the third thing is consumer confidence. When I look at, there's job growth, but there's not wage growth or income growth. And I think that tends to keep people sitting on the sidelines before they buy homes. And I think some of the things that we talked about earlier with what's going on in France, when people don't feel good about or safe, they tend to not go out and buy a house. So just a couple of things I'm keeping my eye out for.
So we asked Jeff, and he pointed out Cal Atlantic's been good about positioning themselves in this market. What are the other guys on this panel doing well? What do you see somebody in this group?
Well, Jeff knows how to drink really well.
He does. He does.
Whoa, wait a
How to
second.
swear
I don't
like
compare to Adrian.
I can fucking swear really well.
We were warned.
I had the over-under on the F-bombs.
Oh, okay. It's fine.
No, seriously, the panel is tremendous because I could talk about all of them, but really, Adrian, I think what Brookfield does, very innovative in their product. I think they push the envelope. I think Jeff and Lennar do a great job of managing inventory and the business and doing that. I think Bob, we are a big developer and home builder. We've built big communities like Highlands Ranch or Vistancia in Arizona. We've done big master plans, and it looks easier than it is. And I think Bob's group does a great job of creating places where people want to live and where builders want to buy, because we're buying land from them, I think, in Arizona and Seattle. And then Scott, I think the level of detail with product that they have, I was actually a little shocked that the Standard Pacific name went away, because I always looked at it as a strong brand that stood for quality of product. And I think Scott's leadership created a lot of that. But now it's Cal Atlantic. First time I heard it, I thought it was a gas station.
Nice logo.
More on that later, too.
Which parts of the country do they fly to? Cal Atlantic.
So
I can't hear a
interesting
word
that you
Adrian's
say
saying.
that.
That's just not fair, by the way. He is such good fodder for responses back. I got to really pay attention.
It's interesting that you say that, Bert, because I actually live up in 4S, which was developed by
sure.
Bob's company, and right near where Scott is. Del Sur's right next to me, and beyond that is Santa Luz. So when I visited your models, I tried to convince my husband that we had to take the back of our house off so that you could open up the back. Have you guys seen that? It's amazing.
Spectacular.
So I think that's your quality of design right there, what your team is doing. What is everybody else doing up here that you would steal if you could?
Other panelists?
Yep.
Well, they're all outstanding. Each one of these builders, quite frankly, has been a very important JV partner of ours in large-scale developments. So, they kind of meet all of the requirements that we would have for good partners. Attention to detail with product, savvy land buying, large balance sheets with the capacity to really endure cycle changes. But as I think about them individually, what I would say is Brookfield, and what I admire about Brookfield is their creativity in product design and marketing. I think they've been leaders in how creative they are and how they use creativity to create value. They're kind of they don't have a cost ethic, and they really want to invest to create value. Shea, for me, is a wonderful history in a company, tremendous pride in the company, wonderful culture. Our cultures are very, very similar, and I think they've been very innovative marketers. And then, what I admire about Lennar would be their entree into California when they came in. They did it in such a big way and with such sophistication, and their strategy development and how they execute strategy is really incredible. And the strength of their management team across the entire country is very good, and they're very tough competitors. And of course, what Bob does, land development on a national scale, to be able to finance that, withstand cycles, hold the business together through cycles is also very admirable, and I respect that. Thank you.
Way better than inventory management.
Stowell's just good, though, isn't he, man? He's just the best.
He is. He looks presidential.
Not only is he
now.
damn good looking,
Refer
but
the
he's
rest of the
best.
questions to Scott. I just want to
Hey,
watch.
first of all, before we go, you can lose control of this really fast if you're not careful, but this was supposed to be a presidential kind of thing. I want to know what poll you're looking at that put Jeff Roos in the center
Yeah,
of
Why would you
this
put
debate.
Why would you put?
And
We knew
Foley and
that was
I
coming.
on the ends.
We should be next to each other.
We
the best
knew that
looking
was
should
coming.
be next to each other.
You're ordered alphabetically by first name.
Oh,
It's
okay, good.
very
That makes me
fair.
feel much better. Thank you.
Fedek.
Heather, when you asked Scott what he'd take from Jeff, I thought he was going to say his tie.
Yeah, exactly. Jeff didn't get the time memo.
I didn't realize.
Well, that was some very nice things you had to say about some of your other competitors on the stage. And I'd like to ask the next question to Bob. We've talked about some of the others. Can you talk about yourself? What is your company's reputation in the marketplace?
Well, gee, I hope it's a good one. I think what we do best and what we're really known for is our customer research. I know it sounds sort of boring, but really finding out who the customer is going to be. We all know who he was last week and last month and last year, but we don't know who's going to buy in 2016 and who's going to buy in 2017 and why. And what do they want? And what can they afford of what they want? And I think our team does an incredible job all across the country. If you look at the 14 states we're in, the number of cities we're in those states, it just amazes me of how well we do that. We have a little thing, I mentioned it earlier, our cafe information centers. We started, and they're like internet cafes, and where people can come together, but we build them right up front. I mean, they open with the first house, so it seems not very economic. But people come and enjoy it. We have beer and wine in the afternoons. You have to buy it. I mean, actually, these are actual, you got to come in with money. It's so strange. But it's really good. We have bike shops who are doing attaching to these cafes. We have live music in the evenings. And I think it's been a real help to us. And this building the cafe up front, we build all our amenities up front, regardless of what they are. Every project in this country, the customers told us the amenities they want, and so they're not the same. But we do build them up front as the builders are opening their models. I think we're known for that. And the quality of the community. I mean, people buy in our community for communities. All four of these great guys all build homes in our communities across the United States. And we're thankful for them. They do a great job.
Fantastic. Thank you. Jeff, same question to you. Is there anything that sets Lennar apart in the marketplace, and how do you know?
Well, I think, I look at, hopefully we're looked at as we look at ourselves, our tagline's quality, value, and integrity. And we take a lot of pride in the homes we deliver. We have a zero defect policy. We are a very customer-centric company, and that's a huge part of our culture. As far as the value, we're pretty unique in the market. We do an everything's included program, which is significantly different than most builders with a pretty extensive option program. So we look at that as providing a great value. And I think the most important thing is integrity. Our founder, Leonard Miller, started our company in 1954, and that's a real big part of our culture and a big focus. And, a number of years, we've gone ups and downs. But the direction to all of our folks is always, no matter the decision, do the right thing, and it's not always necessarily the the most advantageous financial decision for us, but do the right ethical thing. And so I like to think that that's the way we're viewed.
Thank you. So this next question we're going to ask to everyone, and we're going to go right down in alphabetical order. Adrian, we'll start with you. Well, earlier we talked about, when Bert was answering a question, trade capacity, costs, and consumer confidence. Those are things you're looking at next year. Mm-hmm. So in 2016, Adrian, what's your biggest obstacle? Is it one of those, or is it something else?
So 2016, we've got a significant housing operational launch, similar to 15 actually. It's kind of gone back to back between our operations in the northern part of Southern California and the southern part here in San Diego. We plan on opening 8 new communities next year and getting 14 in the ground, the majority of which are new products that we've not built before, so it's exciting. So the housing part of our business is going to be significant. We launch a land development project in San Diego here in December, touch wood and whistle. And we'll have...
You want some salt?
Huh?
You want some salt? Toss
Yeah,
it over.
throw some
Do you want
salt and drink tequila. And then lastly, I would piggyback Bert's comment relating to our trades. I think that it's amazing when you think about our trade pool today. It's we're building roughly 40-50% of the permits that we build in California, yet our trades feel tight and feel stretched. And I think that's a big worrying statistic. So we're spending a lot more time working with our trades and trying to make sure they don't go on Shays, Lennars, or Cal Atlantic's communities, but that they come to wonderful Brookfield communities first. So yeah, housing, our land operation in Southern California, and then our trade relations.
Bert,
The same, I think. The trade capacity, if I had to pick one, that would be my biggest concern.
Jeff, what's yours?
Yeah, I think the trade capacity is, not only here, but across the country is probably the thing that's going to really challenge the industry, because just the fact that during the recession, so many left the industry and the younger people aren't coming into the trades with some immigration issues in other states. It just continues to challenge us, and I think that's going to continue to be a challenge for a long time until we can figure out other solutions to solve that problem.
Bob, what about you?
Well, as you know, we build large-scale master plan communities, 2,000, 3,000 acres at a crack. They take 10, 12, 14 years to sell out. I mean, if we're having a problem, I can't put it in a 747 and fly it someplace else. I mean, we're sort of stuck with it. And so the problem I think that we're looking at in 16 is the cycles. Where are the cycle? I know we're on an up cycle, but because we're in so many different markets with these large-scale plans, the cycles are all different. They start up different, they end different. And so I guess our biggest concern is, when is that cycle starting up? How do we create more lots for our builder partners? And when it scales down, and how do we scale down with it? And every market is a different change on that. And then I guess the second and final thing is the California disease, I call it, is spreading across the country. This let's stop development, let's see what we can do to stop jobs and stop growth. The only state I think that hasn't landed in is Texas, except for the city of Austin. But I mean, it's a real problem. The jurisdictional problems, the time it takes, the cost that they feel the home buyer, because everybody thinks we pay for this stuff. We don't. Home buyer pays for it. And the fact that they think they can keep adding these costs on to home buyers who just want to buy a home and a place to live. So the jurisdictional problems across the country is probably the other thing we think about.
Okay, Scott, can you do better?
He got a round of applause.
Well, I don't know if I
I
can do better, but I'll add 2 things to everything that they've said. It's one of the challenges of being the last guy to answer the same question. Answered 4 times
We'll start
already.
with you next time.
But there are 2 things. One's that's kind of unique to all of us would be, finding the catalyst to get this recovery, going. Right? We have not had the benefit of a full housing recovery yet. We're selling half of the new homes that we should be selling in the United States today. So we have been expecting stronger growth than we're experiencing. So I think that's one of the challenges for us to meet our own expectations of what's available to all of us. And then unique to Cal Atlantic would be successfully integrating 2 companies with proud histories. Stanhope Civic celebrated its 50th anniversary this year, Ryland its 47th anniversary. These are 2 great companies, well positioned, with strong histories, and bringing them together culturally, and then, finding a way to get the best of both worlds, so that we can create, this powerful new company that we're inspired by. So I think that's a big challenge for us. We're up to the challenge, and so far it's going pretty well. But that's an important challenge for us next year.
He got a round of applause.
Adrian, you open the door.
And
You open the door.
yes.
There's many trade subcontractors in the room here this evening. You want those trade subcontractors to work for you than rather than some of the competitors. And we all know the really good trade subcontractors are in high demand. What sets your company apart? Why should they work for you?
They should work for us because hopefully they value the relationship that we've had with them over a number of years. We're not just going to meet each other tonight, I hope. We've been working with you for a number of years. That you value the integrity of the organization and how we treat both our team members, our customers, and our trade contractors and consultant partners. That we're good people. What we say we do, it's a really simple model. We're honest. We have the integrity that I mentioned, and oh, by the way, we can pay. And we didn't stiff you last time.
I'm surprised you didn't lead with that.
We didn't. Sorry.
So I'm surprised you didn't lead with that
well,
one.
That goes without saying, but we didn't stiff you last time this business got a little tough, and we took care of you, and we both ground it out together, and you should show up on our job first. So.
And Bert, how about you?
I got a round of applause.
Can you speak to some of the trade subcontractors in the room and tell them why they should work for you?
A couple things. I'll piggyback on some of what he said, but I think the big thing for us is trades want to show up and know that the job is ready. They want to know that it's clean. They want to know that the trade before them has completed what they should, so they're more productive. I think great communication with them to inform them via plans, via what options go into the house, and via timing of when you should show up on the job. I think we coined the term trade partner about 25 years ago, 30 years ago. We really believe in that. We think it's important for us to not only get better, but for them to get better. And another thing we've really pushed that I feel we've been an industry leader on is safety. We have a philosophy and a motto that we say at the office and at all of our jobs is everybody goes home safe tonight. The worst scenario ever is to have to go to somebody's father, mother, daughter, son, and say somebody was killed today on the job site or had an accident and passed away. So we really push that, and we hope it's something that every single company in here does. That's one of those things that you want to spread everywhere to every community across the country. But I think those things, and like Adrian's company, we do pay. We do pay every couple of weeks. So I think that's it. We'll treat them with respect.
Absolutely. And Jeff, what would your 30-second elevator pitch to the trade subcontractors in the room be?
Well, I think we're the fastest pay.
You should check every single check, though, make sure it's the right number.
We pay before they even show up on the job.
That's right, yeah.
Because that's how good a guys
That's
we
how
are.
good you are. Yeah, that's a good job.
But, everything everybody said so far, certainly, and we feel the same way with our trade partners. And I think what does make us a little bit different is our everything's included package and our operational, everything's included really isn't a marketing program, it's really an operational program. And as we go around to our different divisions throughout, the good news is the market's somewhat strong, but the production side of the business is challenged. So how do we make ourselves more attractive? How do we make it simpler? How do we make sure our jobs are ready? How do we simplify the business? And so whether that's through our everything's included, where they don't have to deal with a lot of those options and some of the madness that goes with that. Also, very, very focused on even flow and really trying to set a production schedule and then have our sales pace follow that production schedule. So really production driving sales versus the other way around, which typically happens.
And Bob, we know you're a little bit less inclined to hire a trade subcontractor. You have your own set of subconsultants. So I'm going to skip you, if that's okay with you, and go on to Scott.
Works for me.
I think that's such an interesting question. Each of us, while we're competitors and we're competing for a scarce resource, which is labor today, we really share many of the same subcontractors. So we're also a community of builders. And what we want to do collectively is we want to make sure that we can grow capacity in our industry so that we can meet the demands the emerging demand of home ownership that's coming, that we believe is coming. So it's a really critical industry issue for us. Now, when we're trying to compel somebody to take one of our jobs and not one of our competitors' jobs, the case that we would make is 50-year history. We've been in this market for 40 years. We've got tenured management. We value relationships. We've got very significant scale. 16% market share in San Diego, going to 20 probably next year. That's valuable to some trades. So to the extent that we can share those resources and meet our demands as we roll out our communities, I think that's the objective that we're looking for. We have a lot of work to do to get them there, and we want to encourage our trades to start to grow their businesses, build quality, work together so that we can plan our resources together, be more transparent. And quite frankly, all four of these builders are all doing the same types of things to achieve that objective.
So Scott, what you just said was very interesting, and it actually leads into our next question. Cal Atlantic now, you're saying, has 16 to 20% of the market share in San Diego. That's right? So that's your two combined companies, Standard Pacific and Ryland together.
Well, it's just Standard Pacific because Ryland didn't have a presence here.
Okay, so one company, you got another company that came in. Why is it so expensive to build in San Diego that 16 to 20% market share?
Yeah, well, that's also a very interesting question. And that really goes probably back to land use policy. Before 1972 in California, California's affordability was probably the same as it was anywhere in the nation, and then CEQA got enacted. So at that point, when you start significantly limiting supply in an economy that's as big as California is and generates as many jobs as we do here, and you can't supply it, then all that's going to happen really is that housing prices are going to run up, and they have since 1972. It's a big problem.
So Bob, I know that you build all over the country, and clearly we have some issues in California with the regulation, with CEQA. What role is San Diego playing in your company's future? Southern California, San Diego.
Well, I guess back in the 70s and 80s, we were the largest private landowner in the city of San Diego. That's hard to believe, but true. But we're down to only one project here. Project Arita is running. We haven't named it yet. We call it Newland Sierra. It's up off I-15 in Deer Springs Road. We took it over from a developer who had to give it up here about 5 or 6 years ago. We're going through the entitlement process, 2,200 units, open space about the size of Balboa Park. I think it's going to be a great project, but a project of a lot of diversification of housing units. I mean, we have to hit every economic section in this city and county in order to get people in housing and jobs. And I think that one of the things that we worry about is that somehow the jurisdictions feel that androids are working and not people. But it's actually people who are working and taking these jobs, and they need a place to live. And it's a shame for us that we're down to the last 2,200 units in a county that we've been here since 1968. So I'm positive of that project. I think it's going to be a great project. We're going to do a fabulous job with it. It's tough to find another one. We had going on what Scott said, we had a project called Forest Ranch. We live in Forest Ranch. And just the freeway interchanges that we had to build, Rancho Bernardo Drive, Camino del Norte, Bernardo Center Drive, just redoing them, Mike would know better than me, $32 to $35 million, all charged to the Forest Ranch guys. I mean, the joke we told Caltrans was that, okay, I want swipe cards because only the people, we're going to have gates on these interchanges, and only people living in Forest Ranch will be able to swipe through them because they paid for the doggone things. Well, you can't have a project pay for that kind of massive infrastructure, and that goes to the cost that Scott's talking about.
Well, I would like one of those cards, personally.
I'll give you the card.
Thanks.
Actually, I've got one on me.
So that project you're talking about, your project up off Deer Springs Road, it's pretty far out there. And the rumor everyone keeps talking about now is everyone's going urban. Everyone wants to live downtown. The millennials, the baby boomers, they're going to sell their houses and move. Do you guys believe that? Because I read yesterday something John Burns put out. John Burns from the John Burns Consulting. He thinks it's complete crap. He said that we're always going to have suburbia building. So I want to know, Bert, what do you think?
I completely agree with that, even the crap part.
Yeah.
You know, I have two millennials. Two of my kids are millennials of my three, and they're an interesting group because they really want marketing and products that are real. And I keep hearing of this huge wave of them, but I've yet to see them, right? Yet to see some of the buyers. The one thing I do see with the millennials is that they're waiting longer on everything, including getting married. It seems like big decisions. But the minute they have kids, they want a house, they want a yard, they want those things. They want cool product in the city when they're younger, but once they have kids, it's suburbia time, you know? So that's my take on it.
What do you think, Adrian?
Yeah, I mean, I broadly agree. I think that there's probably I mean, I'm a millennial. I haven't aged very well, but I think there's an attraction to living in a more urban setting for millennials. I think, frankly, there's attraction for a lot of boomers too to live in a more urban setting. And I think that there's a balance. There's probably a little more of an urban persuasion today, but as Bert said, as people get old and have kids get older and have kids, I think there's a desire to move to the picket fence. But what I think the opportunity with millennials for our industry is that the millennial population is receptive to change. It's receptive to, there's an openness and a willingness to try things out. And I think our industry, if I can knock us for a little bit, is a 100-year-old industry that's frankly changed very little in 100 years. And I think we have a massive opportunity of reinventing our industry with the use of technology, with ideas of how people live in communities, in homes, in neighborhoods. And frankly, a lot of it is technology-based, but I think there's a great opportunity to shift our industry that we haven't seen before. So I'm excited about that millennial population influencing that change. So vote for me.
And Jeff, is Lennar doing anything different to cater towards the millennials?
I agree with what these guys are saying, but it's interesting. I was in Las Vegas, our division, 2 days ago, and we were working on a Welcome Home Center sales office for millennials. And it's kind of an experiment that we're doing, that we're looking to, if successful, expand it. And I'm not a millennial. I have millennial daughters that I have to rely on to show me how to do a lot of things that millennials do. But it was very fascinating because the people working on that, our marketing folks, are millennials. So they could certainly relate to what the millennials are looking for, what they want to see when they come into the Welcome Home Center, what they want to see in our product. So just kind of very excited to see what we're doing, working on that, experimenting, and also there to learn some more to see where we can replicate it.
And Scott, you have found great success within the building industry. What would you say to one of those kids starting out? Would you suggest they get into the building industry, and if so, from what angle?
Absolutely. I get asked often to meet with kids of my friends or colleagues, especially when they're trying to looking for career advice. And we talk about this amazing business. And I tell them that it's creative, it's capital intensive, it's highly entrepreneurial, there's tons of diversity, there's opportunities for men and women. It is in desperate need of younger talent and younger people to kind of pick it up and carry it forward. When I really get them is when I start talking about this idea of the aspiration of home and how wonderful that is and how it transcends all cultures and how meaningful that work is. And we're all looking for meaning in our work. When we think of the legacies we're going to leave behind of our life's work, when I talk to them about how important this work is, and I tell them that I believe it's the greatest work on earth, I get them pretty excited and they start wanting to talk about jobs and opportunities and all sorts of things. So I'm a big fan, obviously, and I love this business, as I know all of you do, and I consider us all kind of ambassadors of home and this great aspiration.
And Bob, I know you have 3 children, one of which works with you.
Right.
Do you share the same feelings as Scott towards?
Absolutely. We have a different business. I think our business is really creative. I mean, when I try to talk to our people, our younger people, is that you create something and you get to see 10 to 12 years of it. And you get to see people coming in, they're walking the trails, old couples holding hands. I know that sounds sort of corny, but I mean the whole community, you see it come in front of you. You got the high schools and middle schools, the elementary schools, the parks, the libraries, the trails. Their life lives when they come home. And we want our communities, when you come in, you cross that bridge and you go, oh, wow, geez, I'm home on my community. And I try to deliver that feeling to our employees, and I think I get it. And they get it. Our employees are smart and hardworking, and my job is just to deliver a vision and then get out of their way and let them go do the job. And I try to relate that to the people that I meet. That I agree with Scott, this is a wonderful business. This is a creative business. It's a business that produces, other than food, it's the second most important thing in people's lives. So I think we ought to embrace it.
And Bert, when you spend your Saturdays at the USC Trojans games, what do you tell those students when they come up to you and ask for career advice?
Well, a lot of it is like what Scott said and what Bob said. You know, what I love about the business is it has something for everybody, right? It's entrepreneurial. You'll go find land. It's basically just dirt. And you take it through all the aspects of the, heavy capital, the creativity of what's it going to be, the fact that you got to go get it financed, you got to design it, it's manufacturing, and then it's the ultimate retail product. At the end of the day, there's no bigger ticket item. And then the memories that are created there, to me, it's the best industry in the world. When somebody asks me specifically about what should I do, my first thing is find the right company and find something that you want to do within that company, and forget about price, forget about what you're getting paid. Because I think too many kids today coming out of school, when I hear them ask what's the pay early in the conversation, I think it's a problem, because I think this industry is a labor of love. You get into it and you realize that there's unbelievable opportunities, and the rest takes care of itself. So to me, it's don't lose sight of that. I think we're not doing enough in schools to talk about residential, because every real estate class I ever see in school is about apartments or about office buildings, and which are important, but I think there needs to be more about for sale and residential.
That's actually an interesting point, I'm sure. So this is the last question, I think, for our time that we're going to ask. And we're going to ask everyone across the board, and then we're going to go into the audience and take some questions. So we're going to start with Scott this time, so he gets to go first.
Thank you.
Adrian, you'll be last. We talked about what's keeping you guys up. We talked about what your obstacles are. In 2017, 2018, when you look back at 2016, when you look back at this next year, how are you going to decide that was a success?
If 2016 was a success, looking back 2 years from now. I would say for us, if we have successfully integrated our companies, right, where people aren't thinking that they're Standard Pacific or Ryland any longer, that they really have bought into Cal Atlantic, and that's why we adopted a one brand strategy with a new name. I think we believe that was really important to everybody, that they could rally behind something that Cal Atlantic will be known for. So if I look back in 2 years, and I think we've successfully done that, and I'm responsible for leading the integration, and I think that that's really important work, I would consider that a major success.
If you have a suntan, will that also be a success?
Selling land?
A suntan.
Suntan.
Foley.
You got the British
Hey, first of all,
Trump over here
Adrian
popping
can't
up.
get a suntan. That's why he's so envious of that.
Maybe just on the top.
He's that pasty,
Come on.
Note the reflection.
It's growing.
All right, Bob, what's your answer? How are you going to know 2016 was a success?
I think the most important thing for us looking back on 16 is going to be builder sales, because of our builders across the country, the hundreds and hundreds of sales centers that are in our communities. If they're successful, I know we're successful. And of course, that translates to our own revenues and our own operating profits. But next year, we're opening 4 new master plans, one in Wilmington, North Carolina, one in Houston, one in Austin, and one in Tampa. And as I look back, their success, when you open up a new community, it's that first 2 or 3 months. Are you going to be successful or you're not going to be successful? And so 2017, we're going to be looking back, and I hope that we're really moving.
All right, Jeff, what's your answer?
Well, I look at 16, if I can stay employed through the entire 16. I think good luck with that. That would be
a
cool.
success.
But, as we look back on it, certainly, the financial success and the challenges that come working for a public home builder where there's a lot of expectations set. But I think most importantly, as I look at it, is really going to be how well did we do growing our young talent in the company. We have a big initiative because, as you look, our industry during the recession lost a lot of young talent, and so we're really focusing on growing our young talent with some leadership development programs. We have a great new lady, very young division president running our Lennar division in Las Vegas, which is the largest division there. But a big focus of our company will be on developing that young talent. And we also have some initiatives we're working on to support homelessness and some pretty creative solutions and looking to launch a couple of things. So if we can make both of those things happen along with certainly the financial results, I consider that a successful year.
That sounds like it's very successful. Bert.
Similar, I think if we look back and we did well in the customer metrics, the financial metrics, and I'd love to see the next generation of our people engaged in the next step, especially if we're looking back 2 years. And hopefully we will look back and say, we were really prudent. If it was a really good year, we didn't get too greedy. If it was a bad year, we didn't make dumb decisions, right? And so to me, it's just looking back and saying, were we reasonable in what we did? Did we grow our people? Did we do those things that are important to the fundamentals of the business long term?
Okay, Andrew.
Actually, it's a great question. It's actually what I think our jobs are. I think our job is to look 3 years ahead and decide today what the results of that 3-year picture are. So when I think of it in 3 areas. One, I'll have been successful in 2018 if in 2016 the plan that we put in place to grow our business, and we plan on growing 25% next year, about 20% the following year, and another 25% the year after that, has been successful. And I view success not just financial, but I view it that we haven't got there screaming and yelling at each other, that we've actually got, one of the strengths of our organization is, I think, our team members' engagement and how truly our core culture is, I think, rivals any in our industry, frankly. And it sounds like I'm bragging because I sort of am. But we're very proud of it. And I hope that in 2018 that everybody's not kicking and screaming at each other. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that we forecast our industry correctly, and we believe we're in for a 3-year slow but steady climb, and maybe without some of the jumps in pricing that we've seen or have historically relied upon. And so that's the second thing, that we forecast our industry. And the third thing is that I'm a single-digit handicapper because I've really done a good job of playing golf in 2016. That's a joke.
Should we hold our breath for that one?
Huh?
Should we hold our breath for that one, or is
Yeah,
that
you shouldn't
pipe
hold your
dream?
breath.
Yeah.
I'll still beat Jeff
That's a stretch
Roos
goal.
and Scott Stowell on the golf course, just so you know.
Here, here.
Well, before I turn it over to the audience for a question or two, I just wanted to thank you 5. Thank you very much for your time, for coming down.
Great job.
And for supporting our evening.
Give them a round of applause. They did a brilliant job.
And with that, we're going to venture into the audience, and if there's anyone that would like to ask a question of one of our wonderful panelists, please raise your hand and we'll come find you.
While you're searching for people to ask questions, I just want everybody to, when Adrian leaves the stage, I know he said he's a millennial, he dresses like a millennial. So I just want you to look how elegant and tight that suit is. He's like the man from U.N.C.L.E. when he walks off the stage.
You have to be a 36 chest to get in this suit. Unlike Stowell, who's like a 48. Massive. A beautiful man as well, by the way. Very handsome. Bruce now. There you go.
And we have our first question.
I don't have a question. I just want all 5 of you, plus the moderators who were incredible, that you have made our industry so proud tonight. You were humble, you were sincere, you made my heart beat for what I fell in love with many years ago, 30 years ago or so. And I see all these young people in this room, the older people in this room, and you are what make this industry. And I am so grateful to have been here tonight. I love you all, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Don.
Any other questions?
Come on, we were told there'd be planted questions. Where are your plants?
All right, come January, you're going to be in front of your respective companies. What are the first thoughts that you're going to be telling them?
What was the first part?
I couldn't understand the question.
What are the first thoughts come January that you're going to be telling your company? Because you're going to be giving your yearly review.
What are the first thoughts that you will be telling the company in January? We'll be saying, we'll be saying, we've got a heck of a year. We're super excited. In fact, it sounds like the team probably knows this because I frickin' will say it every frickin' year. We've got a heck of a year. We've all got to work our asses off. But the good news is we'll get to celebrate at the end. So, I was going to mention one more thing about our culture that I love is that we have a lot of laughter in our organization. I think that's really, really important. So we'll be saying, get ready to laugh a lot this year. And I get around it.
And I would say to that, December is the biggest volume month of the year for our company, and I'm sure just for everybody up here and for all of you who are builders. So what we're going to do on January 1st is kind of take a deep breath, a big group hug, and kind of reflect back on what a great year we had. Right?
Yeah.
Time for one more quick one.
We're a little different, though. We end our fiscal year in November, which is coming up pretty closely. So we pretty much spend the month of December partying. So what we're going to be telling everybody is great time. Let's go back to work.
Well, you spend a lot of time partying. The rest of us.
Most months.
Yeah. Exactly.
But no, it's certainly echoing what everybody says. It's 2015's, I think, been a great year for all of us.
Yeah, it has.
And we're looking forward to a great 2016, and how can we do even better?
Yep, and I'd say the same thing. I think January will be a time to be grateful for what everybody did. A lot of people in this room here tonight are working really hard right now. And I think it's going to be about hope for 2016 to be another great year. And I think if we all execute well, we'll do well, because I think the fundamentals are there.
We have time for one more quick one.
We all know what happened in 08 particularly with the Las Vegas market. My question is to Jeff with Lanier. And the Las Vegas market, obviously, in 08 was the beginning of the downfall. But my question to you is, where is the Las Vegas market now? You say you're working there. What's your feeling on Las Vegas?
I'm sorry, where's the Las Vegas market?
What do you feel?
I think the market's strong. We've had tremendous growth and continued to do well there. The overall market's labor challenged, like others. But feel good about the market. The volume is still down considerably from the peak and even below normal 20-year history levels. So we think there's continued opportunity. I don't see 2008 happening again in any of our markets. I think there's too many factors limiting the growth. Certainly the crazy run-up time created the party created the hangover. And so I just don't see that happening again. I see it as a good, slow, steady market, and we're having some good success there right now.
Adrian, Bert, Jeff, Bob, Scott, Thank you all very, very much.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you.
This was fantastic. We really appreciate all of your times.
Great to be with you, man.
Hey, good luck on that. Good luck on that. Really.